Gencon 2016, here's Mark Arnaudo at the booth of Catalyst Games, and I'm here with Randall, who is going to tell us a little bit about Valiant Universe, the deck building game, a new game that is being released here at Gencon for the first time.
Yeah, it's being released here at the show. We actually had to fly some copies in, but we're excited to do it. So the Valiant deck builder obviously is based upon the great Valiant comics. We actually have an RPG that we released a few years ago, and we're adding to that with the deck builder game. The two unique elements that are brought into the deck building game, one is that there are actually miniatures in it. The miniatures represent the best of the heroes within the universe. So we have Faith and Rye and Livewire and Bloodshot and Exo Manowar. And so they're actually moving around the cards that are on the table, interacting, pushing each other and fighting and so on. The other unique element of the game is that, as with most deck builders, you have the various piles of cards that the various players are able to purchase, but you're only able to purchase certain cards on the table. And then the 25 decks of cards actually within the universe flavor represent a secret underground facility that is below Alcatraz. And so the various organizations within the universe, Harbinger Foundation and Project Rising Spirit and so on, are all trying to take control of this secret facility. And it's a facility that can kind of morph and change itself like any good, superhero facility should be able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what that means then is, as you're playing cards, you're able to actually push and pull the various cards and rows around the table. And that both makes it so that you can purchase cards from the table to go into your deck, as well as ensure that others can't.
Excellent.
The other element is that as you are casting firebolts and telekinesis and throwing explosives, you're actually damaging the facility. So at the end of every player's turn, they're going to roll a d6, and a certain amount of dice will actually be applied to the facility. And once the facility clock hits 0, one of the sectors, one of the decks of cards, shuts down, and then it resets back up and it keeps going. And that does two things. One is it means you can't buy cards anymore from that deck, but it also means that if that deck is in your what we call zone of influence, at the end of your turn, you're going to take damage from that. So in addition to cards that do damage and superheroes that do damage, you also have this great push and pull mechanism of trying to move the cards around out of your zone of influence so it doesn't damage you, but into somebody else's so it damages them.
Excellent. Let's have a look at the game as it is being played here. So a lot of cards on the table, a lot of components. Can you tell us a little bit about some of these components?
Yep, so in the middle you can see the 25 decks of cards. Each row, you have rows and columns, and each row starts out with the 5 cards that correspond to each of the organizations. And so you'll have the Renegades, you'll have Harbinger Foundation, you'll have Project Rising Spirit, and so on. You then have each of the miniatures that will correspond to the players. Then in front of each player, you'll have 2 cards. You'll have the tracking, durability tracking, which represents you as the player and your organization. So if I'm playing as Project Rising Spirit, Project Rising Spirit then has its coherence tracker, which is if I get to 0, I'm out of the game. And then it also has the power card, which represents the superhero. So the superhero starts out with 2 powers, and then there's 3 different tiers of 3 powers each, so a total of 9 powers. So as you're going through the game and the facility is resetting itself, you have the opportunity to increase your powers. Now, you're never going to get to, well, I wouldn't say never. It's very unlikely that you'll get to all of the powers in every game. And so each time you're playing, you're able to take a slightly different tact as you decide, I want to try a new tactic and try some new powers that will help employ that tactic to win the game.
Sounds excellent. It sounds like there is enough meat here also for people that may not be fans of the Valiant universe, simply enough choices and powers and decisions. I may miss this. Is this a cooperative or a competitive game?
It's absolutely competitive.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it is no holds barred. You're trying to eliminate the players out of the game as fast as you can. The other great thing is, as you eliminate a player, and as the facility resets, it has less and less hit points every single time. And so the game is speeding up quicker and quicker. So you don't have somebody that's out of the game and suddenly he's sitting around an hour waiting for the game to end. The game's going to speed up significantly, so he's only waiting 15-20 minutes and it's over. They can move on to another game or they can try the same game again.
Excellent. Thank you so much for telling us about Valiant Universe deck building game premiering here at Gencon 2016.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on the show.